Hi, welcome to X Reality Podcast. I'm the host, Dominic Wu, and beside me is our guest, Bert Naver. Hi, Bert. Could you share a little bit about your background with us?
Sure. Um, I'm an engineer and an MBA, so that's my credentials. But most and foremost, I've been a gamer all my life. Um, so I think that's what got me into entrepreneurship. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, so I kind of like the idea of creating your own product and sell it to the world. Big fan also of Steve Jobs and the Silicon Valley. Um, I think he's the greatest artist of all, even though people might not think he's an artist, but he's definitely an artist. It's just using technology as his medium. So I think that inspired me to start my own company in iTech. I was doing my MBA, and they announced the new Xbox 360 in 2005. And now everybody knows NVIDIA, but back then NVIDIA was mostly known for gamers. And they decided to put the best graphic cards on the Xbox. So for me, that was kind of the eureka moment where I said, you know what? Really good graphic cards in a console. I was more of a PC gamer. I did everything, from console to PC. But I like the fact that it was easy to use a console. So I
Mm.
said, okay, let's do a VR headset
Oh,
for the Xbox. That was in 2005.
mm.
And it took 12 years with multiple version, multiple failures to finally get to a point where we won Best in Show at CES,
Wow.
and then got the attention of Apple and got acquired by them. And then I was in Montreal, Canada, and then we moved our team to the US. So, and for me, like to work in Silicon Valley was a dream. It's kind of the tech mecca there. And I learned also how it is to work at a big company like Apple. But yeah, we work on really hard problems there. Um, did did a significant impact on the Vision Pro, uh, and then came back in Montreal. Um, Started their office here in Montreal and got approached to start a VC fund.
Mm.
And I think like I was doing angel investing. I had lots of battle scars, and I knew like because I always try to understand what's the best practices in anything I do, and the best VCs are in California, and most of them are entrepreneurs,
Mm.
who now are investors.
Mm.
So I said, oh yeah, maybe I could be a VC and help the next generation of entrepreneurs. And we did that. So I've been at it for 3 years now. I'm on the board of multiple companies, especially in XR, since it's my area of expertise. And it's really cool because as a creative person, I think I can really help the entrepreneurs because I see so much deal flow. So I'm good at seeing patterns. So the more deal flow I see, I'm like, okay, I see trends, I see where things are going. So I can be helpful to the entrepreneur to help them navigate this tumultuous world.
That's very cool. So, what do you see the pattern? For example, the successful startup founder, we know that there are a lot of like a LinkedIn post, right? Oh, you have to do this. Like, there's even a chart of how you build a successful startups and what's the right way of doing a pitch deck, and also what's your first team should look like, and later on move to whatever seed round. There's a formula. And what's your formula? Do you align with all those LinkedIn posts?
No, like this is just to sell books or whatever. I think like people always want to we live in a world where we can swipe for everything. You can swipe for food, swipe for love, swipe for a cab. So people, now it's an attention economy with dopamine. So I think that people are looking for a quick way to success. But the truth is, if you want to be successful, uh, I think the first thing is you need founder market fit. So you need founders who understand the industry they're in. Uh, they might have from a young age acquired skills in that industry, and are passionate about it, because I was passionate about gaming. And I said, like, I don't want to play my game on a 2D screen. I want to be inside the game. So that's how I started. But something that I thought would take 3 years to launch a product took like 9 years. So our first product
Wow.
was launched after 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah. And
Amazing.
when I launched, it was on a Kickstarter.
Mm.
It failed. Like,
Um,
and then we learned from that failure.
mm,
And then we adapted the product. And then after that, we got more traction.
mm,
So I think, like, to answer your question, I think the first thing is you need founder market fit. You need co-founders. Don't be
mm,
alone. Um, I think the CEO must be very business focused,
mm,
but at the same time understand the technology. Like,
mm,
I think that now uh, the world is changing so fast.
mm,
Technology is always like, now we have a new LLM each week,
mm,
like or a new video model or whatever. So, like, you need an understanding of the technology. Um, and sure, like, as a CEO, you don't need to code. You don't need, like, because you're managing a team, you're raising money. It's okay. But I think to have an understanding of the technology is really important. Um, and then, yeah, have a great CTO that's always on the lookout and can build the actual product. So I think, like, um, in the process, I think the co-founders should be able to do their first uh, proof of concept, by themselves, bootstrapping. And then once you have a proof of concept, you can raise money with VCs to get to your MVP. And your MVP is when you have first customers are willing to pay for it.
mm,
And then you can raise another round. And then with that money, you get to a product market fit. And then you can raise more money to scale, because to scale before you have a product market fit, I think it's just not using the money wisely, because
mm,
you're scaling that's something that is not right yet. It's not polished. It's more of a push than a pull. At the
mm,
beginning, you're trying to convince customers to use your product, but at one point, when the product is so great, it's organic. People reach to you, and
mm,
that's when you want to scale. Um, so I think, like, founder market fit, get great co-founders that can build stuff together, and also have access to people who've done it before that can help you too. So I think that's something that I enjoy, is like when the founders are coachable too. They
mm,
don't think they know everything.
mm.
And then yeah, I would say that's the main things I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think you mentioned that founder market fit is very interesting and also product market fit. Yeah, I think sometimes, for example, like a founders has a lot of passion, right? And the person just keep building it, and later on it attract another person in and become co-founder. I think
Yeah.
this types of things is very naturally because, for example, if you have an idea, if you just start pitching around and not really building anything, it's very hard to attract the right co-founder. So I think the first person need to start diving and at least something that attract another person to join in. And also you mentioned that product market fit. Yeah. So right now I'm like personally I'm building product. Yeah. So it's interesting that for example like MVP, right? Sometimes we think there is a product market fit, but sometimes the MVP was so not well execute, and people look at that because for me sometimes I like to push things out, but I'm afraid to put a price in because I was afraid that it's just at the beginning. Like for example, I just launched like the Revan Edgar Allan Poe. I put I make the Revan by Edgar Allan Poe into a VR experience, and it took me like 9 months. I thought I can finish it in 3 months, but it's usually like a
It's
very
always
long.
longer.
Yeah, always like it's only 11 minutes experience, but it took me so long. And then
Well,
yeah,
it goes a bit with me. I mean, I thought it would take 3 years. It took 9 years,
yeah, like 3 times. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I pushed to side quest, and I was like, will people play it? And I was like, should I put a price? And I just I don't know. I probably have like a low, like very scared, so I make it free. And
Yeah,
later
it's
on, it's like a
normal.
300 people download, and I was like, should I charge like $1 or 1.99? And later on, my friend and he pushed a app, like a AR app. He charged 2.99, and I was like, I should charge like 2.99 as well. So it's interesting that
Did you?
sometimes no, I didn't. I just make it free, but now I'm turning like a Moby Dick into like a mixed reality game. This time I'm thinking about really think about because I have two of my students kind of we work together. Kind of like I later on promote them to be co-founder because I
Hmm.
think yeah, I mean they are very very passionate, and also they work during the midnight. I was like, wow,
Hmm.
this is like a super dedicated, and they really really love the product. So I personally just like wow, let's just build it together. And later on, I think because they just so smart. Like one of my student, he just learned like a 3D 2 weeks ago, and now he can build everything so great, like a very very good professional level. It's like sometimes I told him like a yesterday or two days ago. I was like, wow, I think your attitude is so good because for some reason there was like a really misalignment between animation clips and also like the mesh and t-pose. A lot of things was not really sync well, so the character cannot move, and he just like look up everything and spend the entire day debugging. Wow, like I said that the resilience is amazing. I really love the attitude. I told him that you can accomplish anything because he just and I told him that if you couldn't do it, pass to me, I will do it. And he was like, um he wanna figure it out, and he believe he will figure it out. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And he is only like 22, 23. It's amazing. So for me, I really enjoy like this types of like working together. And also yeah, the next one I probably will charge like a 2.99. I feel like we spend so much time and
Yeah,
trying to figure things out.
it's the ultimate way to know if what you're building has value. Like
Yeah,
we have a few startups like that have lots of users, but it's hard for them to monetize.
yeah,
Because now like people are used to free to play, they're used to like
yeah.
get everything for free because they're their product. You go on
Yeah.
social media, it's free, but then you're the product and they sell you ads.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there's value in like paying because it also show that you're appreciating what you're using.
Hmm.
I think this is the ultimate way of like, because I think like most entrepreneurs, they might not see them as artists, but an artist, what does they do? They create something out of nothing,
Hmm.
and then they show it to the world,
Hmm.
and then the world say, I like it, or eh. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
scary. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
scary.
yeah. Every time when I push something, when there's no one likes, I always like suspicious about myself. Like, is this good? Should I keep working
Hmm.
on this part? It's always like a validation and always uncertain.
Hmm.
And I learned because I also published a book and I interview like 38 XR experts about like how to launch a product successfully. And I remember I asked I forgot it, Thomas. He launched Cubism, and now it's the laser dance, like the yeah,
Yeah, I like
a
Cubism. It's been a
yeah,
while I played, but it's a really fun game. Yeah.
yeah. He said that the way he do the kind of ensure the game is working because he has a architecture background, so that's why everything he built is scalable and modular. And he told me that he just spent 1 to 2 weeks and create a short prototype and launch to his LinkedIn or social media. If he saw a lot of people like it, he just keep building it. If he see like there's no one likes it, he just abandon it. He used his like a crowd to help him to do the early like product market fit. So I think so that's why I'm doing the same thing. If I have anything, I just push it and see if there's any traction, and yeah, just keep building it. And also, yeah, I think this is like a like the way that I learn from him is like more like just push it. And sometimes I remember at the beginning I heard this concept, I was so scared. Why? Because hey, if I push it, what if somebody steal the idea? But the fact is that nobody is as passionate as you
Exactly.
to build that product. So when people see it, they just see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like as a VC, I get 20 pitch per week. And like, I see some entrepreneurs, they want to sign an NDA. I'm like, no, an idea is nothing. I want to know if you can build it. Like
Yeah.
that idea you're pitching me, I've heard it 5 times already,
Yeah.
but I want to see, is there a founder market fit?
Mm.
Why will you succeed? Because like Facebook was not the first, like so like people are so attached to their idea, and I heard so many times, oh, I thought of this idea 10 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
sure, you're not the only one,
Yeah.
so like don't get attached to an idea. It's more, and anyway, now the world is changing so fast like that. I pivoted 3 times in my startup, so you will pivot anyway. But
Mm.
I want to understand. Okay, so why do you think this idea is good?
Mm.
Uh, I'm more validating your thought process. Like,
Mm.
how do you like navigate the world, and
Mm.
why do you think it's a good idea? The idea I know will change. So it's
Yeah.
more about like the character of the founders that I'm interested in.
Yeah, it's very very, very interesting because for me, I mean, I'm also like a like I think I start building something since 2021, and then yeah, I've been getting through a lot of little like a different phase of my thought. Sometimes whatever I believe will be totally a flip to the opposite of like a next phase. So yeah, for example, before I was thinking about co-founder, founder, I need to make the deck look so good. So I find like people like with a big title, like much older than me and so much professional and put on deck. But at the end, I find out they didn't do anything, and it's me doing the whole thing. But the deck
Mm-hmm.
looks so good. But at the end, I find out, it's actually not working. It's just like it looks so good. But yeah, so now it becomes more like my student, even though the deck is more like like community college and also people like the background was not as impressive, but I feel like wow, this feels more realistic. So
Yeah, I mean,
also,
so many deck I've seen with so many advisors, so many things,
yeah.
and for me, that's a red flag. Yeah, like
Mm,
if for me, is the first thing I ask is, do you have a demo? Like
mm,
for me, like it's not important your deck. Like your deck might
Mm,
help structure your pitch and things like
mm,
that. But for me, in the end, the ultimate test is the product. I want to try the product,
mm,
and if you're not there yet, then come see me when you have at least a proof of concept. You know, something
mm,
that I can play with. Um, and that will show so your attention to details and all that.
mm.
Um, it's more than yeah, you have a older person on your deck with
And
lots
and
of
and
experience, and
yeah, like a
you
20,
do
30 years of experience,
yeah,
but not really.
and you talk to him like an hour a month or whatever, you know, it won't
Yeah.
make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually I love to share with you once we have a concrete demo. We are still working on it.
Sure.
And I remember I talked to another VC, pretty big in Silicon Valley. She told me that she wanna see more like, for example, like the user. Like for example, pushing quickly to the product to the user and get the user feedback and make sure your
hmm
product market fit as early as possible. And I remember you mentioned that your process is more like a founder market fit and get some fundings, get MVP, get some fundings, and find the product market fit. What do you see? Because maybe everybody is different, so I think both of them might work. And what do you see like
No, it's
this
more like for people don't understand like the VC process. I
mm,
think you have pre-seed. So
mm,
pre-seed sometimes it could be just an idea,
mm.
but that you might get funding with just an idea if you're a repeat entrepreneur. So you've
Oh yeah, I see.
proven that you're good at building a team, building a product, and things like that. So I know plenty of repeat entrepreneur that will get funding just because they were successful in the past.
Mm,
But for first time entrepreneurs, um, it will you will need a demo and
mm,
co-founders and show that you at least have worked together for a 6 months period, or
mm.
something like because um, finding a co-founder is like a wedding, it's like
Yeah,
and you're creating a baby, so like
yeah, yeah.
so it's the same analogy. Like I joke that I sold my first kid to Apple
Mm,
because I started in 2005 and then became a real father in 2010. But for me, when I sold it, it was like okay, like I'm giving you my baby and let's make it grow together and things like that. So yeah, you need good synergy between the co-founders. Like if they've been friends for a long time or they know each other from college or things like that. I think that's all better. And then what was the other question? It was more like
product
oh
market
yeah,
fit.
the stage. Okay, yeah. So yeah. So when you so for pre-seed, you need co-founders,
Mm,
complementary skills, and then if you have a first demo,
mm,
let's say it takes you a few months to at least have a demo, not ready to sell, but at least shows the skills the team has. You'll get money, pre-seed money.
mm,
Um, Most likely, it will be from angels. Maybe people who know the co-founders, they believe in them, and then you might get VC funding too.
mm,
Um, and then with usually you raise for 18 months, 2 years maybe,
mm,
and then you get to where you have an MVP, so that
mm,
people are willing to pay for it.
mm,
Uh, and then once you have your first customers,
mm.
that's validation that at
Oh,
least
that's
you
good.
have something that's worth
Mm,
investing for the second phase, which
mm,
is the seed phase.
mm,
And then seed is to go from an MVP to product market fit.
Mm,
Um, and that's another typical 18 months, 2 year runway you raise for that amount.
hmm,
Um, and then and that's the hardest part. You know,
hmm.
most startup fail at that part to
Yeah.
find your product market fit.
Yeah.
Because sure, selling, I don't know, like 1,000 uh, of your product is something, but to go to a point where you get to 10,000, it depends in which industry you are, but where like it's not by ads or by like knocking
Wow.
on doors that it's more like referrals from other customers who say, look,
Yeah.
it's so amazing, like you should try it. When it becomes organic,
Mm,
that's when like you get to the Series A, and
yeah.
Series A is to scale. So and now like before, like when it was zero interest rates, you could only raise with like free customers. Like if you just had a free app and you show, oh look, I have so many people, like they say, okay, let's go, you know. But now like they will want maybe like 1 to 2 million ARR
Wow.
to raise your Series A. So it's tough. It's tough for entrepreneurs right now.
Mm,
Um, and you know, XR2 was tough because
mm,
like last year we saw AI, you know,
mm,
took the world by storm,
mm,
and a lot of the budget that was an XR went into AI.
mm,
But the good news is now I think the companies have seen the usefulness of AI, and now they're putting money back in XR.
mm,
And we saw like Valve is working on a new headset. You
mm,
know, rumors that Apple is coming with the new version,
mm,
Meta 2.
mm,
So you see all those companies, you know,
mm,
coming back into space. So I think that's great for XR. Yeah.
mm. And as for XR, I think I recently saw in China in China there's a company who do XR without a glass. They
Mm.
use like a transparent types of like I don't know how that code they it's like a special like it looks like a plastic wall or something and very
Mm-hmm,
flexible. You can like change or distort it and you just put on the wall. And
mm-hmm,
then for some reason I saw like wow there's like a for example fish and it will create an illusion that you thought is floating in your room, but it's actually just a very thin plastic and really flexible. It's like an acrylic, but it's
mm-hmm.
just so flexible and it's just put on the wall and it creates an illusion and by
Sure.
programming. And I was like, wow, if that happens, who wants to wear glass? Because you can and they use like a different gestures or later on for example I
Mm-hmm,
think in the future maybe voice active right oh
mm-hmm,
can I do something or hand gesture or there's some
mm-hmm,
some device right and you can change and you don't really need to wear glass because I think the problem or the thing about wearable is that people you see like people you even did like a laser surgery to
mm-hmm,
get rid of the glass yeah so for example like when I eat something I have a Ray-Ban
mm-hmm.
and then
Sure, I have them too.
yeah I went out and I usually use this to walk my dog but somehow I feel like the glass is so heavy even though
Mm-hmm,
I like to take photos or listen to the music
mm-hmm,
it's just like a sometimes it's a trade-off. Do you want to wear that heavy thing? I know that Meta is going to launch one eye
mm-hmm,
types of like information. Yeah, like
mm-hmm.
I really like XR and I'm very into it. It's just the wearable
Yeah,
thing.
no,
Yeah.
I agree, but I think there's no perfect solution. So
Mm,
I think it depends of the use case. Uh, I think that glasses are free. You can go
mm,
anywhere with them.
mm,
Sure, there might be bulky, heavy, and all that. But you know, just like in 10 years, you already see like it went from tethered to a PC, and like it takes half an hour just to make sure your drivers are okay. And like one of my favorite game is like Half-Life Alyx.
Mm,
So I remember like when I wanted, oh, there's a new level, I want to try it, and then oh, I need to update like my drivers. But now like you take a Quest 3 and like
mm,
you're up in 30 seconds, and the graphics are almost there.
mm,
Um, and then yeah, for when I travel, I like the Ray-Bans, even if there's no visual.
mm,
Just like like you said, you're taking pictures. Let's say I'm visiting, I don't know the city. I put I put on my map where I want to go, and will guide me just with audio. Turn to the left, blah blah blah. Uh, I like I was in Barcelona, so like I said like, so can you translate when I'm the menu? So it took a photo and would tell me the menu. So I think like there's different use cases, and you'll see a plurality of solution depending. Are you more interested in entertainment right now? So it needs to be more immersive. So maybe a bit more bulky. If you want to like be more social, then it's going to be maybe more like Ray-Ban. Or if like your solution with acrylic and things like that. So maybe if it at work where it's a more controlled environment, then yeah, sure, you don't need glasses, going to be projectors or whatever. Um, and I think that's the beauty of XR is that it's not a one size fit all. It depends of the use case, but the underlying technology is the same.
mm.
Putting object grounded in the real world, or you need game engine to create the worlds and things like that. And then the way you display it, there's different ways depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, and I remember a long time ago when I wrote my book, I remember I saw Humane, right? Humane Ping.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched the TED Talk, the founder, the founder talk in at TikTok, and he mentioned that we want to skip the XR phase directly to that AI ping because it blocks your eyes, right, and
Mm-hmm.
it prevents people to communicate. So, when I was looking at that, I was like, wow, it actually kind of has make some things right, and also the human ping. I later on I interviewed a couple of people. They said that human ping it reads aloud. For example, if for example you're code right, if you get in a gate and the human ping will read aloud your security information, and which is not good. So yeah, and they have like a projection on the hand. And as far as I know now, human ping was totally out of market, something like that. So I personally think, yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, like whatever he said scares me because I think XR actually has a lot of like value. For example, training, education, and also entertainment, and a lot of like collaboration, a lot of value. Yeah. So what do you see like a AI? Because I also heard that Ori Bar at AWE, he mentioned that AI will be the interface of XR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's another saying that Microsoft CEO, or the executive person, he mentioned that SaaS will be dead because AI will take over, the interface part. So, what do you see that XR play in the AI era? Like, are they hand in hand, or AI will do more than XR? And I talked to Charlie Fink. He said that XR is just a genre, like for example, for entertainment. Other medium won't go away, but XR is just one of the choice that if you like immersive experience, it won't take over the entire world, take over or replace other media. It just will be there. So some people think that XR will be part of our life. Some people think, oh, it's just smaller and AI will be more dominant. What do you see like the XR? like a proportion or everybody?
Sure.
What's your take?
Yeah, it's a complex question. I think that I just want to start with what you said with the eyes, because I worked at Apple, as I said, after we sold Vervana. So like one of the first thing I was surprised when I joined is like when they said like because at Vervana the totem at the cameras where your eyes are,
Hmm.
which kind of makes sense, because
Yeah.
it reduced the complexity. 'Cause you still need to compensate. So like the brain, has evolved in 3D, from when you're a baby, how the world behaves.
Hmm.
So if you do AR or a pass through, that's not exactly when your brain is expecting the world to behave.
Hmm.
You'll get sick after 10 minutes.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what we worked on the Vision Pro to make sure the point of view correction was as best as possible.
Hmm.
But one of the thing is like because they wanted people to see the eyes,
Hmm.
there was a screen,
Hmm.
the eyesight screen.
Hmm.
Um, but that made our life much harder
Hmm.
because instead of being aligned, the cameras were down there anyway. So all I'm saying that is because like sure, you want XR to be as natural as possible.
Hmm.
You don't want it to you don't want to look like a cyborg or whatever. And AI can also make things easier.
Hmm.
So I think that AI is an enabler for XR.
Hmm.
It can help. So the bar to get into the medium is quite high. You
Hmm.
need talent that are almost like know how to do games,
Hmm. Hmm.
because most of the time you need Unity,
Hmm.
you need to build 3D assets.
Hmm.
So it's not like doing a mobile app
Hmm.
where you can go on Figma and then maybe go vibe coding and then and then you get an app. I think that you need the level of expertise is much higher.
Hmm.
And then, that's one of the reason as a VC, I wanted to make the adoption of XR faster. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, I have experience. I've been in the industry for 20 years now.
Hmm.
And I still see the difficulty of the medium. So if I can be part of the solution, invest in companies that makes it easier to get into the space. So that's why we invested in Shapes XR, because it's like the Figma of XR. So you can go from just an idea
Hmm.
to like you do your UX UI, you can do a proof of concept, and then with that proof of concept, you can raise money. So, but I think by adding AI, let's say in Shapes XR or any other way to create content, it will lower the bar because you can start by saying, "Oh, I would like to be on Mars. Create me a Mars background." Okay, cool. Now I want to do a shooter on Mars. Can you like let's create guns and levels, whatever. So like it makes everything easier on the content side. Then on the user side, nobody wants to airtype or whatever. It's not very convenient.
Yeah.
But then with AI, you can have a voice companion where you
Hmm.
you dictate what you want to do, open this, do that, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's why AI is so important for XR. And it's not a coincidence that that Mike Rockwell, the VP of the Apple Vision Pro, now is responsible for Siri,
Hmm.
because Siri is really important for the Vision Pro.
Hmm.
So it really makes sense that now Mike is responsible for Siri because they're gonna merge. And it's really important that Siri can compete with Gemini or Llama or any other LLM out there.
Hmm. Wow. So yeah, so I think for AI and XR, you can see actually AI is helping bridge the gap for people who wanna enter to XR.
It reduces the friction on both sides. It reduces the friction to create for creators,
Mm.
and it reduces the friction for consumers.
Mm.
So that's why AI for me, like when ChatGPT came out, it was kind of there's not that many moments in a lifetime, I think, where you're like, oh my God, this will change the world. I remember
Oh
like
yeah,
the
ChatGPT.
first
Yeah.
time I tried MRC, in high school, just chatting with someone else like in Europe.
Uh,
I was like, oh my God, like
mm,
I'm on the internet and I can communicate with anyone. Like
mm,
I didn't sleep that night. I was just typing and I went like when I was that tired, I went to sleep, but it was so exciting. And I think the same thing when ChatGPT came out and like you start chatting with it and you're like, oh, I think we're almost at the Turing test, like
mm,
you're like, okay, the first version, we're like, okay, I can
yeah.
still see it's not a human,
Yeah.
but now like we're definitely past the Turing test.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and for me, the best analogy is like when electricity
Mm,
became ubiquitous.
mm,
It's like if you use the old ways,
mm,
where it's still manual labor and like sure you can still do it,
mm,
uh, but you'll be 10 times more efficient with electricity.
mm,
And I think AI is the same thing. Like AI will automate so many things,
mm,
and sure, there's pushback. Like lots of artists, like they say, no, I like the process. I still want to like draw things and do things, and it's normal.
mm,
But like, um, if you don't leverage it, if you don't use it, someone who use it will be so much more efficient than you.
yeah. Yeah.
Then you might, sure, you might still do your old way, but maybe just by yourself, and you won't be able to compete. And I understand the frustration.
Mm,
Don't get me wrong. I have lots of empathy for people who are caught up in this change of
mm,
mindset. But I think like anytime there's a new technology, uh, you can be even more creative.
yeah. Right.
So, I was watching the documentary on Jurassic Park,
Mm,
ILM, on Disney
mm,
Plus, and there was that transition, where like there was a group that were doing dinosaurs with puppets,
mm,
and animating them, and then there was that crazy guy that like did it in graphics, and like it was so much better. But then the old guys who were used to do puppets,
mm,
they were like depressed and everything. Oh my God, what will I do? And then what they did is like they would make a puppet, but more like electronic one. So
mm,
you would still animate the dinosaurs like a puppet, and then the computer would make the graphics.
mm,
So I think the same thing will happen with AI. Is like you'll still be in control of what you do.
mm,
It won't be like sure, like prompt to whatever,
mm,
sure. But for me, it's like script kiddies. You can do you for personal use, you can do it. It will be easy, you know. But if you want really to create something that will change the world or have an impact, it won't be prompt to something because you won't differentiate from anyone.
yes.
It's just that
Mm,
the minimal bar.
mm,
It's like drawing. Everybody can draw,
mm,
but like good drawers can make a living.
yeah.
So it's going to be the same thing. Like it's just the bar will be higher.
Mm,
Everybody will be able to do amazing graphics,
mm,
but then it will be more the storytelling, the
Yeah.
angles, all that, and that's you'll need creative control on it.
Hmm.
And right now, I think like if you're an artist, like learn Comfy UI,
Hmm.
and that will help you do your story. And sure, maybe like you'll say, "Oh, I used to really love the process, go in Maya and do my
Yeah,
things,"
yeah,
and like,
yeah.
sure, but you need to let go that and say, "Okay, now like I'm gonna be creative, but using a different tool." And
Hmm.
the result will be even more awesome, you know.
Yeah, right.
Um, but yeah, it's a tough time. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. For example, yeah, like currently my student is working on character design for Moby Dick, and he spent like 4 weeks just to do character design. And he said that he enjoys the process, and I
Hmm.
love to see and like the
Hmm.
pencil and like those
Yeah,
like
sure.
marks, and then later on, because we need a lot of NPC, right? Non-player
Hmm.
characters on the street.
Hmm.
So later on, I just said, okay, okay. You focus on the main character, and I did the the normal one, and I saw like ChatGPT 4. They few probably before they release like the very good character design. You can just type and put some images, and I create like at least 5 to 10 NPC within very high quality. I use ChatGPT and insert a bunch of 19th century people,
Hmm.
like a working class man woman, and I
Hmm.
ask ChatGPT for all to generate front side and back.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and then I download Trellis, and I ask like a Trellis to change make it like a 3D. I think within probably less than 1 hour, I finished like a 10 people like character design. And he was like, wow, he has to do that because, for example, he did like a Ishmael, the main character. He has to do like a cut the head, and then it's
Hmm.
like a lot of stitching and a lot of
Yeah.
things that he has to do it. But for Trellis, it's just doing everything perfectly. You just need to go to Mixamon or anything world and you do the rigging and it's done. So
Hmm.
I can tell you that my character design was not as good as my student,
Sure.
the pro, but I will be able to do like the mediocre thing like very fast and just like fill out the scene. So I was like, wow. And he looked at that. He said, wow, he needs to learn how to utilize it so he can speed up. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I
But
look
but
at that. Yeah.
but but he's young, right?
Yeah, he's like a 22, 23.
Exactly. So I think those 22, they're gonna disrupt the industry because if you're 40
Yeah.
and you're still attached, it's been 20 years, you've been doing
Yeah,
that
like yeah,
process, and
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, oh no, I'm in love with the process.
Yeah.
And, and it's sad, but it's the reality.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean when you talk about like holding the process, I remember like in community college we have another professor, my colleague. I teach AI pipeline to do like a Unity game, and my student, a lot of them, they didn't have any coding background, and I taught
Hmm.
them how to do vibe coding, which is type of
Hmm.
what you want, right? But
Yeah.
I usually give them like a 6 weeks of learning the basic, like what's variable, what's game object, all the basics, and later on I let them to do a lot of different all the AI tools I list out and teach them how to feed ChatGPT ask the right questions. And then, one professor was very against me, and I think he was much, much older than me. And then probably before I was born, he already started teaching like computer science already, like teaching coding. So he said that, yeah, like a AI is unethical. So he told his
I heard
student,
that all the time.
I know because when I saw Gibelin or Gibelin, like that
Hmm.
style
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on my LinkedIn feed, I feel is really not ethical because that's somebody's style and you rip it off.
No,
But
no,
yeah.
that I totally agree.
Mm,
Like, I think the best If it's for personal use, you want to do like a photo of you,
Mm,
it's not the end of the world.
mm,
But sure, if you monetize it and everything,
yeah.
there should definitely be a compensation.
Mm,
I think the best. I'm totally aligned with John Cameron on that. I just saw yesterday on X. He
mm,
said like like lots of people are focusing on the input. Oh, you use copyrighted material to train your
mm,
model,
mm.
but humans they do that all the time.
Yeah.
You read books, you see paintings,
Yeah.
and you build your own model. We're
Mm,
models.
mm,
It's just we're organic model,
mm,
and now we do a digital model.
mm,
Um, so I think like on the input side, um, and we'll see. It's up for debate on the legal side. It's not,
mm,
but I think on the input side, for sure, we want to be able to train on everything,
mm.
but we need to compensate the data holders.
Yeah.
That I agree. Okay, but I don't think it's a good idea to say don't use my data. I think that would be a mistake. I think
Mm,
we want the models to be as good as possible,
mm,
but then it's on the output side. It's like
mm,
an artist. If you're too close to another thing, you'll get sued. Like
mm.
if you do Ghibli by hand,
Yeah.
and it's like a ripoff, you'll
Yeah.
get sued for sure.
Mm,
So I think the legislation will be on the output side. Like, is it too close? And if it's close,
mm,
then you should pay the artist for
mm,
for his hard work.
mm,
Uh, so I think that's going to be where we'll see where it lands. But I think that seems to be what's the most logical, at least for me.
yeah. So you agree with like a training, more like inputs, because I remember I read a news or blog from ChatGPT, OpenAI. They said that AI has the right to learn everything like a human. I was like,
Why
wow,
not?
that like they said that AI has the learning rights. Yeah, I mean, according to what you mentioned, that yeah, AI can learn anything, but the outputs, yeah, just like you said, that the outputs,
Yeah,
if things is too close or rip it off from somebody, and
yeah.
for example, if everybody is using Ghibli style and some people monetize, well, Ghibli Studio sue OpenAI or sue the individuals, and by that means, for example, I just saw I feel like I feel like it's kind of challenging me to see a lot of Ghibli and people even create a course how to how to create a Ghibli style for your whatever video animation. Is that also monetized on top of Ghibli style? That's a question mark. And besides, I saw like in White House on X, they also post a Ghibli style of
Of course,
yeah,
everybody. I mean,
everybody is doing that.
Islam now is the figurine starter pack. Like people. Like I remember when Midjourney
Yeah.
started. Like
Mm.
my feed was just like Midjourneys. It's just fads. People. Oh my God, this is amazing, and
Yeah.
they try it, but we won't see them like in 2 weeks. Um, it's more like I said, it's like a human being. You cannot if they buy the book, if they buy the movie, if they
Mm.
like you cannot say you're not allowed to use that data. If you
Mm.
pay for it, you should be able to use it.
Mm.
So I do agree that there should be compensation on the data side. There's already models like Moon Valley that do models on all data that they paid,
Mm.
and the result is great. Um, but then that doesn't mean that you can do any style or anything
Mm.
without compensation. I think you need, if it's if you feel that like it's based on Pixar or it's based on Ghibli or it's based on whatever, uh, those studios should be compensated for sure.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, we'll see how where it lands. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think those like a AI topic is, I would say right now people are starting to thinking about like the data and the copyright, right? And also I think, I mean, I'm also in the education area. I saw like a lot of teachers like, hey, a lot of my students use AI for assignment. What should I do? Should I have like a no AI policy for assignment, or your assignment need to have a notes says edit or created by ChatGPT. And what's the point if you are a teacher, you allow people to do ChatGPT because they just put your assignment into ChatGPT and the outcome is the best of among all the students, but it's not registered in. So yeah, so there are still a lot of like a debating like how to utilize
I
AI.
mean, it's like me. Like I'm dyslexic, so me writing is not my preferred way, you know. But because I'm trying to change the mindset here
Mm,
in Canada,
mm,
I got challenged by my friends. Like you should write more posts because I would say it in like in real life or in podcast or whatever, but and it's the same thing in education. You need to be able to express yourself in writing. Uh, like I remember in university, I would say like if I would do oral exams, I would have amazing grades, you know. But because I need to write it and I'm dyslexic and it's hard for me to express myself in writing, I didn't have good grades. Um, but now with AI, you know, it's still my ideas. So I
mm,
go and I say, I want to write a post about this. Here's our my point. Here's my hook. Here's my call to action. Like I really, it's not like prompting, write me a post, and it will do it, but
mm,
it's going to be generic and
yeah.
it won't resonate.
Mm,
But if I really structure it and say,
mm,
this is when I do blah blah blah,
mm,
and then it might take 3 4 iteration,
mm,
and then I'm like, okay, this is good.
mm,
And then I will maybe put some emojis because I like emojis and
mm,
it's my style,
mm,
and then I'll post it. Does that mean that I cheated? No, it just means
mm,
it's still my ideas. It's not my forte to write,
mm,
so I'm leveraging a tool to
mm.
to better express my ideas. So I
Yeah.
think for education, it's going to be the same thing. Like
Mm,
if you just prompt and you don't read it and there's
mm,
hallucination and
yeah.
you won't get a good grade, you know. but
Yeah.
but if you have a good point of view on the assignment and
Mm,
you take a twist and you it's all about like when people read something,
mm,
if it makes them progress their thinking,
mm,
that's when you get good good grades or a lot of likes, you know,
mm,
or engagement. It's about the quality of the thought process. So I
mm,
think like AI will help you either refine your thought process by back and forth. You know, most of the time I like to argue with people, not because like not for like being a dumbass or whatever. It's more like because for me, if the challenging part helps me like see another point of view and say, oh, I
mm,
haven't seen it this way. And okay, yeah. So that my my view of the world is balanced.
mm,
So the more debate you have from different point of view, because I think most of the people um, they're right in the sense that from the data they have,
mm,
they make an opinion
mm,
and they say, no, I have the truth.
mm,
So I think in their mind they're right,
mm,
but the more information you have, the more data you have,
mm.
the better decision you can take. So
Yeah.
it goes back to AI.
Yeah.
AI needs to have access to everything because
Yes.
if it has access to everything, it will make better decision. And that's what
Yeah.
we want. If we restrict the data,
Hmm.
it will make dumb decision or
Mm.
it will be biased.
Mm. Yeah.
So if it have access to everything, well, because everybody have bias, it's
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah. It's
But
normal.
but and the bias comes from if you have limited access to information, you have stronger bias.
Hmm.
And if you have like I go on Blue Sky, I go on X, I read everything because if I'm in my bubble,
Yeah.
then I'll have strong biases.
Yes.
But if even if I don't agree on everything I read,
Mm.
I can see their perspective and have a better decision making in the end.
Hmm.
So I think AI needs to have access to everything,
Hmm.
and then yeah, limit the output. If like I think the New York Times sued because
Oh, yeah. Right.
you would ask a recipe of something, it would be one on one, but that just means that it didn't have enough recipe of that type
Yeah. Right.
because like it converge on something.
Yes.
But if you have all the recipe for a brownie,
Yeah.
and then you would say, "Do me a recipe of brownies with Smarties,"
Hmm.
then it will say, "Okay," like and then come up with something new. And that's
Hmm.
what we want.
Yeah.
We want creativity. We want new things.
Hmm.
Um, so if we limit the data,
Hmm.
we limit the usefulness.
Yeah, yeah, I think I agree with you. And recently I look up like there's a school, K-12 school. It's called Alpha School. It's the headquarters is in Austin. Yeah, and Alpha School is very interesting. They only let students learn academic with computer. There's no teacher. I mean, there's no academic teacher teach lecturing or giving assignment. It's just 2 hours of learning with computer and AI. And the rest of the time, teacher or they called facilitator will take them outside to the market and look up the problems. And then also how life skills and learning how to do public speaking and also look up the product, go to supermarket and see what's the problem and create or kind of figure out a solution of your own and then later on pitch to the owner. And it's like a teaching them entrepreneurship. And I was like, wow. So in the future, because I think the reason why teachers are so scared of AI is because AI take away the lecturing or like the authority of knowledge access from the teacher. But teacher, I think a teacher has different aspects, such as like a life coach, more like emotional or like a facilitator, or like a teach them how to be a human, right? And be more empathy, more like soft skills. I think a lot of teachers are more focusing on the lecturing skills or answering the question or get the right answer, those types of skills. Yeah, those teachers are scared of AI, but I think the teacher who promotes students to have their own life, find their own interests, figure out a problem, find a problem, and pitch public speaking. I think that those teachers teaching soft skills well, very likely to integrate with AI because AI offload those types of like static part partial roles offload to the AI. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's yeah, we live in a very pivotal time in history. Like things are accelerating, and I got invited to a dinner with young whiz kids, and I was t talking about the singularity and things like that,
Mm.
and it's coming like in 5, 10 years, I think. Like I think
Wow.
it's very close, and it will change society,
Mm.
but the transition will be very chaotic and
Yeah.
tumultuous, and we'll need to redo like how we take care of each other, because like
Mm.
only a small portion of the population, I think, will create value,
Mm.
uh, and the rest will be automated.
Mm.
Uh, but we want to take care of people, and we'll be
Yeah.
able, because after singularity, I think it's the end of scarcity. Like we'll understand pretty much, we'll have universal knowledge,
Mm.
and it will be more about what do we do with that knowledge. Like
Yeah.
we can, you want gold, we'll be able to create gold with atomic printer, there won't be any scarcity. So then like the value of things will go down to almost zero.
Yeah.
And so then we need to share it. We don't need
Yeah.
to gouge it for the people who have access to. And I think that was the principle of OpenAI. It was like, let's make it
Mm.
open source, because it's so powerful. AI is so powerful
Yeah.
that if it's in the end of the few, it's very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It needs to be in the
Open.
hands of government and everyone,
Yeah.
so that everybody has access to that powerful tool,
Mm.
and hopefully not to kill each other, but
Yeah. Yeah.
because war sometimes is because you have resource constraint,
Yeah.
and once I want a high quality of living, and
Yeah.
if you have it, I don't have it, but in the end, with AI, everybody will live like kings, and
Mm.
then it's going to be more like um, finding purpose. What do you do
Yeah.
with your life?
Yeah.
Spend time with your friends, spend time with your family, education, because we'll still need the education. It's
Mm.
not because the robots and AI do everything that we don't
And
need
human
education.
will have no intelligence. Machine is learning. People just like, oh, okay, overload everything in there.
Yeah,
Machine.
you'll still need, but I think
Mm.
we'll maybe, instead of optimize for deep technical skills,
Mm.
uh, that won't be needed anymore. It will be
Yeah.
more about like emotional intelligence, kindness, pursuing your passion. You
Mm.
will still like maybe paint and everything. Kids, they're very creative, and then they
Yeah.
lose it because they say you need to find a job, and you want to be a lawyer and learn the law, and then grind and learn how to, like, you do the little paperwork at the beginning to understand uh, what needs to be done, and then at the end of your career, you can do
Mm.
big deals and things like that with experience. um but is this like, do I see this in the future? I don't think so. I think you'll
Mm.
still do deals and negotiate with other human beings and things like
Yeah.
that, but I think like all the red tape behind, will be done automatically.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree that what you said, that in the future you will be more like soft skills and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Yeah, just like you said, everything, even expertise, almost down to free. For example, like um if you have any questions, you ask ChatGPT. It's usually
Mm-hmm.
right. For example, like I recently I was doing tax return and I had a lot of questions that
Yeah.
I was waiting on the line, waiting for my accountant to give me answer. And I was like, yeah, maybe I just put the question that I want to ask my accountant and I put into Guac 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep asking. And later on, it gave me a lot of answer, like, oh, this form you need to fill, da 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 da. And later on, I asked my like a accountant, and she said, "Oh, this is like a dollar stuff. I need to, get something. I need to Google it." And I was like, actually, I just asked chatbot, "Do you want to take a look? Is this right?" And she was looking at that, and she Googled it and was like, "Oh, actually, this is the right answer. If
Yeah.
I would do that." And I was like, "Okay," I just follow Guac. And then I was like, "Wow, my accountant spent the rest of the entire of her life. She's probably like a 50s, 60s. And she had like an MBA accountant, like a lot of like a certification on the wall. Feels like
Mm-hmm.
also like a person with authority. But now I just ask Guac and it's free. And I was like, should I like drive far away and book an appointment and sit outside and wait for a very long time, wait for her answer? And at the end, it was Guac.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
it's it's
I did the same thing. Like, I'm Canadian, and anyway, I'm in a fund in the U.S. And they were asking me what's the marginal rate you need to put, and like I asked my accountant, and she said, "Oh, this is a U.S. question.
yeah, right,
I'm
right.
gonna talk to the other
Yeah, a lot
person."
of like yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Let me just ask Grok. I have Grok too. I'm like, I'm in Kenya. And say, oh well,
Yeah.
there's a treaty, blah blah. You put zero. I'm like, okay, perfect. So I went on
Yeah.
Carta and put zero, and then got my tax forms and everything. Um, so yeah, but I understand people. It's a concern for them because they put so much time and energy to learn a skill.
Mm,
Like even I'm a programmer, I
mm,
did computer engineering,
mm,
uh, and I like now, but I think that's the thing that's going to be hard
mm,
is like if you're a really great programmer,
mm.
you'll be even better.
Oh, yes.
So I think like at 10x, we in the industry said there's 10x engineers,
Mm,
and it's not because they code 10 times faster. It's not
mm,
that. Is they understand the architecture. So like they're like an architect. So the
mm,
10x engineer is like the architect,
mm.
and then they have a team that helps them write the modules and things like that, and they review and things like that. But I think like now your team of engineers to help you do the model is going to be AI, but you'll
Mm.
still need the architect. But
Yeah.
but the architect will become so much more efficient
Mm,
than all the people who are not architect.
mm,
They'll need to either understand architecture and then become more proficient with AI.
mm.
But I think if you're not at a high level of structural thinking and all that,
Mm.
it's going to be hard for you for sure.
Wow, interesting. Because right now I'm in my master program, and I remember when I only got bachelor degree, I told people that hey, actually, you don't need a master degree. You can, get a pretty good, job or anything. But after I get into master degree, even though before I was like, oh, why I'm wasting my money. But the reason why I get my master is because I can teach more class.
Mm-hmm.
As a professor, you need a master degree to teach like a bachelor.
Yeah.
So that's why I just like I want a more like a teaching
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like in government, your
Yeah,
pay
you need to
will
have like a go
your
up.
pay. They look at your diplomas, which I
Yeah,
think is ridiculous.
yeah,
It
yeah,
should be how good you are, how productive you are. It's not like your diploma shouldn't say,
yeah,
"Oh, you're at that level." Anyway, so I
yeah.
think we need to change all that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. And when I get into my master, I start realize like, oh, I see why master is different from bachelor. It's because bachelor is more skill. For example, when I was doing graphics and we get into the software and we start teaching like, oh, how to use this tool, more like a skill base. And
Execution,
yeah, execution. And for master, it's more like a theory,
planning.
yeah, planning. And I was like, okay, so I was in education and I was learning like a e-learning curriculum design, more education part, remote learning, which is also good for like my kind of passion project, like a startup. Yeah, I'm doing more like a education, like a for literature, immersive learning. Yeah, and I just realized like, wow, so it's interesting. I at the beginning I think it was the money, but now I know what the old people like or like a people with education background or those doctor degree educator what they are thinking is that because they have a theory, a lot of theory, like in like a 19, I think the most recent theory was like a 2012, 2013, like I would say 10 years ago or like even older, and they have a lot of theory. And every time when I wrote my theory I start like I want to use the current AI evolution and debate, have a debate. And the more debate that I have, the more in the future when there's a professor say something, then I can debate and I know where you are from. So it's very interesting. Start feeling that, oh, I gain my wisdom knowing how this education operate. A lot of bureaucracy was there because they think they are protecting students. And but like if you are from like a tech background, that this point was not right because you have another supporting from the current technology to debate this point. So I start realize it's more like me understand where those people come from, and so I can later on when they have any questions about new technology or anything, I can have my point to fight. So it's
Yeah,
actually
no,
an
but
interesting.
yeah. It's because like a country is like a business, you know, it's like you need to provide a product to your
Mm,
population. So it means like they need to be able to have a roof on top of their head, to get food,
mm,
to provide services or products to the population that they need to have
mm,
a great living. So everything is structured so that people can have a good life.
mm,
Um, so yeah, sure, like you need skilled worker to do products, or and you need manager to manage people, and
mm,
so the education system is like, okay, what are the needs of the country,
mm,
and then how do we like teach people to do those skills, or whatever. But now society or the country and what you provide will change drastically how things are made.
mm.
So the education system will also need to change. But
Yeah.
but we know change is very slow, but now technology is very fast. So we
Mm,
see that clash, and
yeah.
that's why the unions, they try to protect.
Mm,
But I think the unions, they should say, ooh, we need to train the
yeah.
people to use the new technology,
Yeah.
or they will lose their jobs. So instead of trying to protect and say like
Mm,
we will no fight AI because it will kill jobs, it's
yeah.
like
Right.
that's pretty much inevitable.
Mm,
Um, and then you need the unions to say, okay, we need to train
mm,
our members so that they can be productive and
mm.
not be replaced by another company that use that technology.
Yeah, you mentioned that the manager role. Yeah, and I have a lot of questions about like a manager role. So, for example, like when I saw my LinkedIn post, people said that wow, manager will be so powerful, using AI tools because whenever they have ideas, and they can make things happen, right? And they can just
Sure.
vibe code
With
and
lower risk.
yeah,
Because, before the podcast, we mentioned like big companies are risk averse,
oh yeah,
But I think that will help also big companies because like you'll be able to de-risk because AI will rapidly, you'll be able at least to
hmm,
have a proof of concept or something.
yeah.
And then the manager will say, look, that's my idea and everything. And then they will get budget and things like that. So I think like yeah, managers will definitely have more power,
Hmm.
um, and then they'll be able to maybe um, have crazier project internally.
That's pretty cool. And the interesting thing is that on the other hand, if you see Amazon, Microsoft, even Meta, a lot of companies they are um, getting rid of the manager
Hmm.
roles, right?
Hmm.
Make the even Nvidia. Nvidia, it seems like a Jensen Huang like super flat structure, and
Hmm.
it seems like I listened to one of the audiobook about him. He has like tons of reports directly report to him, and he is so transparent. He just puts everything on the group chat. He doesn't like it like a one-on-one. He thinks that whatever I talk to you is the same of whatever I talk to
Hmm.
another person. What's the point of having two meetings? So I
Yeah.
think that's pretty good. It's very transparent. So what do you see? Because I've learned that people like in education side, people want like, oh, this is a manager role, this is da 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 da. But for me, it's more like it's interesting. I saw another LinkedIn post. It says that a lot of manager got laid off and they become IC. Why? Because a lot of startup, they only need IC. They don't need managers. It's just too small. It doesn't really
Mhm.
require a lot of managers. So a lot of managers becomes IC. And a lot of ICs become manager. And the reason why IC become manager because they left the company and they start their own company and they become the upper level because they know how to do the stuff. So what do you see this like an interesting like before like people graduate from like some schools and they expect their entire life to be a manager role and later on they turn out to be learning the basic skills because they want to be get into a startup. It seems like a big companies right now is like a flattening a lot of
Mhm.
roles. What do you see this like an interesting shift?
Yeah, I mean, so as I mentioned, like I worked at Apple,
Mm,
and for me, like Apple is an amazing company because they they're the greatest executor of all. Okay, so I think that they understand how to build product because building physical products, hardware,
mm,
it's hard, you know.
yeah.
Uh, so they kind of and I had the privilege to also go to their internal like Apple University courses where they also explain you the philosophy and all that.
Mm.
And their philosophy is like first you need to be an IC to become a
Oh,
manager
yeah.
because you need to understand the process of creating and coding and then if you're not technical, you won't be a manager at Apple.
Yeah. That.
And that could be also another problem. Sometimes if you're a good IC, you won't make a good manager because it's not the same skill set.
Yeah. Right.
Um, but 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 I do agree that, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, is like I think the CEO needs also to be technical,
Mm,
not a deep technical expert,
mm,
but at least a macro view and understand each part's good enough to help because a manager also needs to synchronize different skill sets because
mm,
now things are more and more complex.
yeah.
So even in my team, um, doing point of view correction, uh, I had people who knew how to do hardware because we were building our own prototype to test the algorithms. Then I had PhDs in computer vision. I had other people who were hackers, really good at writing codes and optimizings and things like that. Um, and it was my role to make sure that each pieces will fit together, and
Mm,
create the magic. But I needed to, even though I don't code anymore or very very basic, not like I used to do all the firmware and her headset and everything. Um, but I still can go into code and read it and understand it, and so it's more like if I see that there might be a problem, I can help and because I have this bird eye view, like and people now are very deep into their expertise, which is normal,
mm,
but it's like tunnel vision, Everybody,
mm,
everybody has their tunnel and they
mm,
do their thing and they're great.
mm,
But you need someone who's like, okay,
mm,
this is amazing, but it won't fit because, you're
mm,
using different coordinates or whatever, it's,
mm,
I'm just taking an example, it's so I think a manager, um, as it's good if it was an IC before
mm,
because uh, they will understand. But I do agree that I think, like we said before, I think we used to focus on the technical skill.
mm,
I think now we'll go more. on the soft skills, like you
Mm,
said, and um, the power I think will shift to those people who
mm.
have soft skills, macro view, and can really be more like conductors, and
Oh.
make a symphony with AIs.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I do agree that in a team there is somebody who need to have like a more bird view, like a generalist, right?
Yeah,
And understand each part, but the teammates can do more like in depth
yeah,
and more tunnel vision and get things done. So yeah,
yeah,
so I think it's a very interesting era because I think just like you said that only very like 1% to 3% or 5% humanity can create value and the rest of us or like
yes,
the rest of people, yeah, just like doesn't really need to do anything and the robot will do everything and everything will cost, for example, expertise will cost free, right? Like
yeah.
almost free. So what's your advice for example, like the Gen Z, right? The anxious generation, like
Yes.
what's the advice, like for example, if like a community college or some university school students, they like, I think in different field, even I remember I listened to Jensen Huang's talk. He said that if he is a new grades and he want to pick something to do, he will, or like a freshman, he will pick biology. But if you see biology company, a lot of pharma is still like a laying of tons of people, and they don't really need a lot of people to work on things. So, what's your advice for the young Gen Z?
I think my first advice would be stop doing instant gratification because
Oh,
now um, we're all about instant gratification. It's a dopamine economy.
mm,
That's why I like I'm always connected, as you can imagine, like a lot of people. Um, but I was lucky that I saw the transition.
mm,
So I know like most of Vervana, from 2005, I don't know, like the social media craziness maybe started like in like 2015, 2016,
mm,
Cambridge Analytica and all that, like election being swayed by social media and things like that. So like from 2005 to 2016, let's say, I grind a lot. I learned like to fail and get up again
mm,
and get gratification after 6 months.
oh,
Um, and I have a son who's 14,
mm,
and that's one of my worries. Like you,
mm,
and I'm a gamer too, and gaming is delayed gratification too because old games they
mm,
used to be very hard. You could work for you could like do 20 hours of gaming before finishing the final boss and be very happy, that you did it.
mm,
Now we have Candy Crush and all that where you get dopamine right away.
mm,
Um, or like you go online and get loot box and it's like you get instant gratification and I think that's really dangerous
mm,
um, because as I said the people who will maybe get to the 5% who create value, let's be optimistic, uh, and 5% is
five
not a
percent is a
lot.
lot, though. Yeah, if you times
But
like how many billions of the entire
yeah,
world population?
yeah.
10, I forgot.
Yeah, now we're at 9 maybe anyway. But it's not important the number. It's more like if you want to get there, I think it's the people who it's going to be the same It's just like there's no overnight success,
Mm,
unfortunately. Okay, so the people like if you watch Lady Gaga
mm,
documentary or any artist, they had lots. They had to grind a lot, fail, and understand from the feedback. Usually, the first album is not that great. Maybe they have one song that's good, and they learn from it. They're like, oh, they like this because it resonated with their story,
Mm.
and so like that process of failing and learning and all that, like that's where you kind of get retroaction and and master your craft and say,
Mm.
oh, this is, and I think that's is going to be the same thing in the end. Like AI will just make your imagination a reality, but great ideas, it comes from hardship.
Mm.
Most great artists, it's because they have something to say, and they struggle, or they had uh, a bad loving experience or whatever, love songs and things like that. Um, so we need to um, give ourselves the opportunity to fail, try
Mm.
things, learn from them, and things like that. So that's what I would say to uh, Gen Z or younger generation is um, like don't spend too much time on apps that give you instant gratification, and master your craft, and try things, and maybe get a side project where you can fail. Like if you want like a steady paycheck, whatever, for X reason, like sure you can do that, but also have a side project where you can learn and fail and things like that, because I think that's going to be the skills of the future, is the people who are willing to experiment, and scaffolding, where like
Mm.
you come up with something really cool and
Mm.
people are like, oh, I want this.
No.
Usually as a parent, you
Mm.
want your kids to uh, have security, financial security, things like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, get a steady job, get a good degree, and like, but unfortunately, I think in the future there won't be like steady jobs. It won't
Yeah.
exist anymore,
Yeah.
because if it's steady, it means it's easy, and if it's
Mm.
easy,
It
AI
can
will
be,
do it.
yeah, right, right. I just read a news about Spotify. The CEO said that um they only hire a position when AI cannot replace it.
Sure,
So
yeah, for
so
sure.
right now it's like wow, even Spotify, they are recently they launched a new feature called DJ like the AI DJ. So it's pretty much I think that the DJ is really really good, better than algorithm because it starts with your your selection and then find the similar like
Hmm.
tones or something and give you something outside of your selection. And yeah, I don't know. I think those AI tools are really, 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 really good. And yeah, when I see a lot of like functions and also positions are start being, for example, before I usually said that my teacher's time back in like a 1995 during that time, if you know how to do Photoshop as a graphic designer, you will be safe. You are the branding designer and you can charge like a logo design for like a 10K, 20K, 30K, right?
That time
50K.
is over.
Yeah, that time is over. And now you see, like later on, when I became a graphic designer, I need to learn the whole Adobe suite, right? After graduate. And I remember during that time there was like a UX UI stuff. So I even learned UX UI. So before like when I became the young graduates, I need to learn Adobe Suite plus UX UI in order to be called a designer. And later on, I feel like people need to learn much, much, much more to be the previous level and even earn less. And then later on, I think if you see UX UI, people expect you to do front end development. Yeah, like,
Hmm.
oh, you are a web designer and they expect you to do like a CSS and HTML.
Hmm.
That's right now standard. And for example, XR creator, right? People expect you to know all the technical stuff, like technical artists, right? You need to
Hmm.
know UX, UI research, game UI, level design, 3D, and also you need to learn either Unreal or Unity. So it feels like people need to learn much, much, much more in order to get position. So I saw like there's a kind of like a learning, like a super fast of learning of like each year. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, yeah, that's why I'm excited and scared at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very interesting era, and yeah, I mean, I feel like every day there's something so new, and yeah, and especially like a political, all the issues. I feel like every day, I just feel like a very unstable, especially like you see like all the stuff yesterday, yes, and tomorrow, no.
Hmm.
Everything start flipping, and before we thought like something is secure and now it's not secure, so that's what I feel. It's like a very chaotic time. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
If I
so
was a translator, I would be worried.
yeah, translator, if you see like a Ray-Ban, right now they have a live translation, AI live,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
also I remember I saw one Chinese company, I think a China's like a AI and robot, those like a technology was so advanced. I saw there's like a one, I don't know, TikTok or some short video. Somebody wanna went to China and wanna buy a boba, or I don't know, Hong Kong buy boba, and it's a foreigner. Couldn't
Hmm.
speak
I
Mandarin,
love
so
boba.
yeah, boba is great. I love it. And then I saw that the boba staff wear I think it's probably X and they have like the word, and the foreigner wear another one, and they speak different language, and they fully understand what each other say, and the glass has all the language of in each other's. So
Hmm.
and people think it's magical because wow, yeah, just like you said that translator will be worried. And you know what, I watch Lex Freeman
Hmm.
like podcasts. One episode, he was interviewing Ukraine's president, right? Yeah,
Zelensky, yeah.
yeah, Zelensky, and he has two posts because Zelensky has because it seems like Zelensky was reluctant to speak Russian, and
Hmm.
Lex only speak Russian. So one is speaking Ukrainian, and the other person is speaking Russian. So they need to pause, and everything is like trying to cut very seamlessly, and they have like a Ukrainian translator, someone who know both language and trying to translate.
Hmm.
But I was thinking about actually I can just wear Ray-Ban. I don't have to hire different, translator.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think in the future there will be a lot of disruptions for jobs, and all we can do is maybe translator can do something else, right? Maybe
Hmm.
translator, I mean, even podcasts, you can literally just write down everything and turn it into
Yeah.
podcast. But I think a human touch is very different. I remember I talked to one speaker. He said that I forgot the Japanese term, but he said that the spirit, the energy, for example, the ramen master cooking ramen happily, and the people eat ramen will get the energy of the happiness. So I think maybe AI in the future for the human podcast, even though there might be some, misspelling or sometimes there's some flaws, authentic flaws, but those things probably will turn into energy for people who can feel it, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's what I think, that maybe in the future people's interaction and soft skills, and just like you said, that people who can conduct with human AI team together
Yeah.
might be the person who can still survive.
Yeah. I agree.
Cool. So yeah, so this is about to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much. And what's the one thing that you would still like to share that we haven't touched upon yet?
I haven't touched. I mean, I think it's more like um, the future will be for entrepreneurs because I think really like the low AI will lower the bar for execution,
Mm.
and everybody's going to become a creator
Yeah, yeah, I
with
agree.
AI.
Mm.
So it's going to be a creator economy.
Mm.
But what we know in the creator economy, we see it everywhere, is that 5% of
Yeah,
the creators make 90% of the money.
yeah, Mr. Beast.
And I think it's going to be, I think with AI, the world will become a creator economy. Everybody's going to be able to create
Mm.
because it's going to be an idea world.
Mm.
So, but great idea comes from experimenting.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
So people now need to learn how to experiment. And if you take the scientific method, is
Mm.
you have an hypothesis, you try it. Most of the
Mm.
time, it doesn't work,
Yes,
but
yes.
you learn from the mistakes. You're like, I thought it would work. Oh, this portion works. This, oh no. And then you do a new hypothesis and you're like, okay, so, and then you try again, you try again, you try again.
Mm.
And then, oh my God, like I never thought it would be possible. But what?
Yeah.
And now it's like that.
Mm.
But the scientific method needs maybe like at OpenAI,
Mm.
they have maybe 1,000 AI scientists to do those experiments. And so, but in the future, we'll need a lot less people. So I think like maybe 10 people will be able to do amazing things.
Mm.
But you need to learn that skill of experimenting and failing and do that. So that's why I'm um, in Canada and Montreal. I'm trying because we're very risk averse.
Mm.
When you fail, you say, "I told you so. You shouldn't have done
Oh,
it." You know.
that's very normal because I think in school we got taught to be right, to
Yeah.
get the right answer. If you are
Yeah.
wrong, it's you didn't study hard, and there is a
Yeah.
right answer. And I think the concept need to start shifting. So that's
Change.
why I
Yes.
think Alpha School is super amazing. It's like it's not teaching you how to get a good score. It's just
Hmm.
teach you how to survive in this society and build
Yeah.
your own system. So that's why I think, just like you said, that we need to be more like I would say tolerant about failure, and failure is the way to learn, and especially in this AI and all the era, I can tell you like right now the job market is very very crazy, and it's
Yes.
very very hard. And also you see like once even you land on something, you see like when there's economy, everything is unstable right now. I saw
Hmm.
a lot of big company, they start like laying off people, and people just like, hey, why I couldn't log into my system, and okay,
Hmm.
I got laid off. So that's kind of become a very common thing right now. Yeah. So I
But it's
agree with
also an opportunity to become an entrepreneur.
that. Yeah, and I personally think entrepreneur, this word is it is it seems like a very glory, but you can see
It's not.
the grinding.
Yes.
It sometimes I would say it's like you will question about yourself. Why am I doing all this? But I think the rewarding is really good because I think you learn something that is very different from the path that everybody's taking. So the experience, the view, and the thinking will be very different from other people. Yeah.
100% agree.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
Bird. Yeah. And yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening. We release episodes weekly. If you enjoyed this conversation, check out our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Support us by giving us a follow and a 5-star rating, or subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Thank you and see you next time.